How do you know that you exist?
This is kind of heavy for it's kind of heavy for right now.
Oh, you can't explain like how you know that you exist?
Not, like, working at like full capacity. I respect what you're doing though. I wouldn't do this.
Well, yeah, I mean, you need to think about what you're putting your faith in, because it doesn't make any sense to put faith in yourself, because that's finite, limited consciousness, and you could always be wrong, right? Yeah, you got to trust in the worldview in which unlimited consciousness informs finite, limited consciousness, so that the limited consciousness can know it's true.
How long have you been out, or how often do you come out here?
This is my first time on this campus.
Where do you usually go?
I go all over the place, street corners. I've been to different college campuses in the country.
What's your affiliation?
I'm not really affiliated with. I'm part of the abolitionist movement. We're trying to abolish abortion in America.
Hey, do you know why you believe that?
Why I believe what?
That abortion is wrong.
Because the Bible condemns murder.
Right.
Yeah.
Did you know that abortion was not a big thing in American politics until 1987? Do you know why?
Because people didn't care about the children being murdered.
It's because of one guy named Ben Wattenberg who wrote a book called The Birth Dearth. He identified that there were 3 problems that white people were having in this country, and that was that in 1987, white people were said to become a numerical minority in the country by 2030. We are no longer said to do that because this book was written. He identified. He said there's 3 things we can do to solve this problem. Right? 1, we can increase the number of legal immigrants allowed in the country every year. These are his words, not mine. He says, unfortunately, most of the legal immigrants in this country every year are people of color, so we can't do that. The second thing we can do is to pay women to have babies, like they've been doing in European countries for decades. Unfortunately, we would have to pay women of all colors to have babies, so we can't do that. Now, the third thing we could do is one that we ended up going with, and that is that 60% in 1987, 60% of the population was white, 60% of the aborted fetuses were white. It was relative, right? Today, that number is down to 37%. It's because it's worked. And did you know that the Bible, I'm not sure which verse, so don't ask me, but in the Bible, it gives priests instructions on how to perform abortions.
No, that's not true.
It is.
This bitter water that causes the woman's thigh to fall away, it says nothing about abortion. It's a mistranslation. The NIV mistranslate that as miscarriage.
How would the thigh fall off?
I'm not sure, but it doesn't say a baby comes out dead. Certainly doesn't say that.
Sure, not a whole fetus, because that's pretty intense, right?
Well, it doesn't say any type of. It doesn't say a child at any level comes out dead, or that a child dies.
I don't think they really knew what children looked like in the womb back then, you know.
They might. I mean, there were miscarriages back then. There were miscarriages back then, so they did know. So.
Sure, I just don't think bitter water is going to make someone's thigh fall off.
Well, that's that.
And
what
it
that
sounds
means.
More like abortion.
What that means. Well, the result was the woman became barren. Right. I don't know exactly what thigh fall away means, but it doesn't say that it means abortion. It doesn't say that a child is killed.
Sure.
But it does say she becomes barren.
Okay.
And that was for a certain specific instance in which a man was jealous of his wife and was seeing whether or not she had been unfaithful. It was a supernatural thing that happened. It wasn't that
for sterilization.
No. Well, I mean, no. It was for her womb being cursed if she had been unfaithful. Right. So in that sense,
the poison only worked if she had fucked another man.
Yeah. If she had been unfaithful, she would have. The bitter water would have made her womb barren, and she would not be able to have any more children from that point on.
All right, you know, I'm not an expert on the Bible. I'll grant you that.
Okay.
What is your response to Ben Wattenberg's book?
So are you saying that abortion was used by white people to, as a form of white supremacy?
Yes, and it has been kept. It has been used to keep black people their birth rate low. And it is worked.
I'd say that's probably true. Abortion is the number 1 cause of death in America. I believe it's the number 1 cause of death for black people. It's decimating the black population. And so like, what is your point in bringing that up?
My point is that no one thought that it was murder. No one thought that it was taboo, obviously, because it's a horrible process and nobody likes abortions. I just support the fact that it's not my body. and I do not get to tell other people what to do with their body.
Really? So you don't tell men, like if a man told you, hey, I'm going to go rape that woman, you wouldn't say, hey man, you shouldn't rape that woman. You shouldn't use your body to violate that person's body.
There is the harm clause that I abide by, as long as you're not harming anyone else.
And that's where you're inconsistent, because you don't believe that. So a baby in the womb is being harmed when a baby is being twisted and tortured to death, but with forceps. When a baby is being sucked into little pieces with a vacuum hose.
Okay, that's first of all, that's not how it's done.
Yeah, it is.
It's not.
Yeah, it is.
It's
They stick a vacuum inside the womb and suck the baby into little pieces.
It's usually one pill, and then you pass it on your own.
That is a form. That is a form.
Only in severe circumstances where the woman cannot pass it on her own.
No. There's many children murdered through a vacuum, and it doesn't. I mean, it's all murder. It's all killing innocent people.
How about this? Let's say we make abortion illegal, right? Let's say that happens.
Yeah.
Next year, let's say tomorrow.
Yeah.
Tomorrow, abortion becomes illegal.
Yeah.
Do you think that that's stopping abortions?
It will stop a lot.
I don't think so.
It would.
It will stop
if women learned that.
It will stop safe abortions. Women in Texas, women's suicide rate has skyrocketed. Do you know why? Because they can't get safe abortions, and so they try to have an abortion, and they end up killing themselves.
Well, that's their fault. Yes, killing yourself is your own fault. If you're like, oh no, I can't kill this person, I'm so sad. Now I'll kill myself because I can't commit murder. Yeah, okay, you just killed yourself. Well, that's your fault. And guess what? Outlawing the murder of born people doesn't make the murder of born people go away either, but it does cut it back. If women learned that they would get the death penalty for abortion, a lot more women would not murder through abortion. So it would save a lot of children's lives. Of course, abortion wouldn't go away. Of course, it would happen in back alleys, but we should still establish equal justice under the law so that if you kill a 1-year-old baby, same penalty as if you kill a baby in the womb.
Why do you think that a few cells, a zygote, has the same moral equivalency as a human?
Because the Bible indicates that embryos are humans. The book of James says that the body without the spirit is dead. So I look at an embryo and I'm looking at that. I'm definitely thinking that's not a dead. It's not a dead thing. An embryo is not a dead thing. It's actually an organism. Therefore, there's a spirit. Therefore, it's a human being who's developing in the first stages of life. We all know that two humans have sex. What's the product of sex? Another human being. Not an elephant, not a raccoon, not a different species. A human being is created through two humans having sex. An embryo that grows into what you are and what I am right now. Yeah. So just because you're less developed doesn't mean you're less valuable. That's like saying when you're 5 years old, you have less value than a 10-year-old.
Sure.
Yeah.
The Bible also says that the spirit enters the body at first breath.
No, it doesn't say that. It said that God breathed into Adam, the first human. He breathed the breath of life into him, but it doesn't say that for every human being after that, that your life begins at first breath.
I don't think I'm talking about Genesis. I might be. Again, I'm not an expert on the Bible.
And in the book of Jeremiah, Jeremiah talked about how God, I think he was talking about how God didn't kill him when he was in his mother's womb. Well, if you can be killed in your womb, that means you're alive in the womb. If he wasn't alive in the womb, if it wasn't till your first breath, then he wouldn't have ever said that.
Are you anti-war?
I'm anti-unjust war.
What justifies the death of millions?
Well, I don't think, I mean, if millions of people committed murder, then God demands the death penalty for murder. So those millions of people should be put to death if every single one of them was convicted in a court of law for murder with 2 or 3 witnesses.
What if someone was wrong and they gave the death penalty to someone who didn't commit murder, but what if that person was going to go on to cure cancer?
If someone,
you know,
which person would go on to cure?
The person who just got killed by capital punishment.
Well, I mean, it's terrible if any injustice happens. I don't advocate for that. So we should never falsely convict anybody.
Right.
But it does happen, and that's horrible. But I advocate for justice.
But you're an advocate of the death penalty as well.
Yes.
But you're also pro-life.
I'm not pro-life. I'm an abolitionist. So I want to abolish abortion. I don't like the term pro-life. The pro-life movement is pretty compromised. So,
right.
Yeah. But God requires the death penalty in Genesis 9:6. He said, if any man sheds man's blood, by man shall his blood be shed. So it's a mandate from God. I can't contradict that.
Sure. All right.
Yeah, so you should follow Jesus.
No. Simply a lack of evidence.
Well, how do you have evidence for anything?
Science.
Oh, how do you know that science exists?
Because you're holding a sign that couldn't have been made without it.
Well,
You're wearing a backpack, you've got a camera on your chest.
Well, that could be all illusory experiences in your consciousness, right? How do you know you're not deceiving yourself? Well, no, you're putting blind faith in your own mind. So if you don't know everything, there's no way for you to know that I'm actually not a figment of your imagination. Maybe I am.
Sure.
Maybe I'm a figment of your imagination.
And maybe God is a figment of yours.
But the thing is, if God was, then I couldn't know anything, and asserting that knowledge exists would be impossible. But in order to have this conversation, we have to assume that knowledge exists, and therefore we have to put faith in revelation from omniscience informing limited consciousness.
Obtain objective knowledge.
What was that?
What's a great way to obtain objective knowledge?
The Word of God, revelation from God.
The Bible.
Yeah, God's Word in the Bible.
Science, man.
So
I would say science.
So the thing is, how can we make sense of science if we can't be sure, if we don't know that we're not deceiving ourselves?
Here, perfect example right here. Let's say every single religious text in the world was destroyed tomorrow, right? In 1,000 years, what comes back? Maybe it would come back, but it would not be the same. However, if you destroy every single science textbook on the planet, burn it all, right? Erase all knowledge of humanity's knowledge of science, right? In 1,000 years, all of it will be right back the exact same way it was.
How do you know that?
Hey guys. Hi, how are you?
Hello.
I'm Jan. I serve as the Associate Dean of Students. I oversee the freedom of expression policy on campus. I think I have gotten a couple phone calls from departments about your presence on campus.
Okay.
Would love to work with you to facilitate you being on campus and engaging in First Amendment expressive activity. That's my job.
Okay.
Are you a UGA faculty, staff, or student?
No.
Okay. So because of that, there's certain locations we can have unaffiliated people be. This is not one of those, especially with the bullhorn because of amplified sound and all of that. There's 3 places. I'm happy to work with you, send you the information, get you on campus. I can help you get to that location today.
Okay.
But I can't allow you to stay at this location because it's not open for expressive activity.
Is it okay if I have a conversation with this guy and put my sign down and not use that megaphone, just continue this conversation and then go to over to where I'm already informed about where that is, where I should go. So can I just finish this conversation and then I might head over there, but I won't do any more activism here?
So this location, even engaging in this right here, because of you're a campus visitor, right? You're not affiliated with the university, engaging in any kind of expressive activity, this is not the place to do that.
So I can have a conversation? You
can have a conversation, but I can't stay here and ensure that you're not going to engage in your First Amendment. You're not going to do all of this, right?
Right. So I'm telling you I'm not going to do it here.
Right.
And I just want to have a conversation with this guy. And then after the conversation's over, I'll go over to where I need to go.
Sure. And I'm asking if we can go ahead and facilitate that and get you there now. And you're welcome to join us over there, sir. But right now, because of you've engaged in this here, I'm happy to help facilitate this for you, get you where you need to be, allow you, it's actually a more populated area than this is, for you to engage in this activity. I just can't have you here at this location as a campus visitor anymore. That's the thing.
So
it is an office campus. You are correct. You could engage in conversations, walking around.
Yeah,
I just
so that's
need
what I'm
to
doing.
ensure that that's what you're going to do.
That's what I'm going to do. I'm telling you.
Okay.
So that's what I'm doing here.
You wouldn't be the first to tell me, and then as soon as I leave, you turn around and do that.
Well, I'm not going to do that.
Challenge.
I'm not going to do that. I'm going to have a conversation with him, and then I'll leave.
Yeah. Okay, so this isn't an expressive area, folks, so I'm going to ask you to clear. Sidewalks aren't open for this location. This is not where we would do this. We do it at the Tate Plaza, as y'all are aware. And so...
I just want to finish this conversation.
Sure, and I'm okay with that. And
okay.
I am happy to work with you about being on campus. That's all I want to do is facilitate you being at the right location, okay?
Okay.
Wait, can I get I'm going to get your information so I can email you some information. I just brought my laptop. Let me go down there. What I'll do is I'll just email you. See, and this is a perfect example. So you hang, you chat. This becomes an area that then becomes populated, and this isn't the place where that's the best location. And that's why I want you to engage in that activity at the proper location. But let me send you some information. Tell me your name and email address.
Matthew Wiersema.
You know I'm going to ask you to spell that. Thank you.
Wiersema.
Okay. Wiersema.
Wiersema.
I'm sorry. I have one of those brains. I can only remember digits 3 long, or numbers 3, or letters. Wiersema. SEMA. That's it?
Yep.
Got it. I'm going to let you double check that for me.
Yep.
Perfect. Thank you, Matthew. And what email address can I send this stuff to you?
Matthew.wiersema@yahoo.com.
Last name. I'm just going to put last name. At Yahoo. Awesome. Okay. So, I'll chill. I'll hang back here for a couple of minutes, and then I'm going to let y'all bring closure to your conversation. And then I can, I'll send you some information real quick, and then help you understand the location to be. Are you thinking you're going to be on campus tomorrow or another day?
No, not tomorrow. Maybe some other time.
Okay. So our process is just that you would send notification to me, and I'll send you all of that so you know how to do that. But if you're going to be on campus, let me know. The policy is 24 hours in advance. Obviously, we'll work with you. Send that to me, and then what I'll do is figure out which location is open where you're able to engage in this, okay?
Okay.
All right, I'm going to send this to you real quick, and then I'll let y'all finish your conversation.
Okay. So, you're putting faith in a worldview. We're all operating on faith. Faith is required for knowledge because the definition of knowledge is justified true belief. So you have to believe something in order to know it. And so you have to be justified in the things you believe. And I'm saying you can't justify any belief that you have if your worldview, if the only thing in terms of consciousness in your worldview is finite, limited consciousness, not informed by omniscience.
I don't think we have to be. I don't think so. For 100% objective truth, you're right. But I don't claim that. I do not claim. I don't know everything. Absolutely not. And I never will.
Well, how do you know anything? Like, how can you claim to know anything?
How can I claim to know anything? Repeatability and testability. And so how do you know that gravity exists? I mean, you drop something, it falls, you know?
Yeah, but if God hasn't revealed to us that he created us with minds that perceive reality correctly, there's no way to know that you're perceiving gravity actually happening. Maybe you think things fall, but maybe they're actually floating. I mean, you could be deceiving yourself at any moment. If you don't know everything, you could always be wrong.
I can turn that right back around on you.
But no, you can't. You can't, because I don't put faith in a worldview in which the only type of consciousness is limited consciousness. My faith is in a worldview in which the